Thanks everybody for coming. My name is Mark Gillespie and I'm with the Refugee Action Collective. And the Refugee Action Collective has called this rally to mark the 9th anniversary of when Kevin Rudd introduced his infamous PNG Solution. From that date, the 19th of July 2013, we were told that all refugees arriving to Australia by boat would never be settled in Australia, and that if they were found to be refugees, we were told that they'd all be settled in PNG. Now, PNG, we were told, was an emerging economy with a robust democracy, and it was a signatory to the UN Convention on Refugees. 9 years later, not one refugee has been successfully settled in PNG. There still exist 105 people on Nauru and 112 on PNG waiting for settlement. There are also over 1,100 refugees in Australia who were brought to Australia for medical reasons, who are either in closed detention or in community detention, or existing in very precarious circumstances on final removal bridging E visas. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg of some of the suffering in our community. The changes introduced by Kevin Rudd in 2013 was not the beginning of Australia's anti-refugee policies, nor were they the end. Offshore processing was first introduced by John Howard back in 2001. Then Julia Gillard reintroduced it in 2008. The Abbott government began towing boats back in 2013, and in 2014 the Abbott government introduced temporary protection visas and the so-called fast-track processing system. Because of these anti-refugee policies, we now have a refugee underclass living in Australia. There are over 15,000 people living in our community as second-class citizens, either on temporary protection visas or safe haven enterprise visas. There are about 3,500 people who have had their claims rejected because of Scott Morrison's unfair fast-track processing system. And after 9 years, there are still 8,000 people still waiting to have their claim for asylum assessed. Australia's tough anti-refugee policies don't just affect people in Australia. There are hundreds of asylum seekers. Is that what? Hundreds of asylum seekers who were screened out and sent back to Sri Lanka without an open process at all. And there are thousands of refugees trapped in Indonesia because of the government's turn-back policies. Now, international law says it's not a crime to seek asylum. So why are these people being punished? And that's what we will be focusing on here today.